Victorian literature might seem like a kind of misfit. Most literatures we study are defined aesthetically, Romanticism and Enlightenment before, Modernism after. By contrast, Victorian literature is defined by historical period coinciding with the reign of a monarch, Queen Victoria. But what unites the culture of that time is the way it tends to express a particular Victorian mentality. And by focusing on that mindset, we can bring Victorian literature closer to those other genres defined by ideas. Victorian literature responded to an age of bewildering change. Science yielded new possibilities, and the ways that people lived their lives became very different. For starters, you might think simply of the number of things that were invented during the Victorian period. The camera, the sewing machine, the flushing toilet, the bicycle, the telephone, the motor car, the gramophone, moving pictures, X-rays, and the development, if not the invention, of the railway network, its lines spreading web-like from the national centre, London. Trains could collapse the temporal distance between the progressive city and rurality which seemed left behind in a time warp. Victorians were acutely aware of such contrasts, and they tended to view their own culture using sets of opposites or polarities. We might consider, for example, the existence of separate male and female spheres of life, evident in novels such as New Grub Street. There was a prevailing notion that a person should be divided into opposites: the cool, ruthless, efficient public self, as opposed to the gentle, reflective private self. Morality was often considered in stark opposites. In Bleak House, the inspector Mr. Bucket complains of Hortense that she has considered him angel and devil by turns. Later critics tend to focus on the application of this dichotomy to women, but it was applied to morality more generally. And, alarmingly to some authors and readers, the material advancement of Britain created a sense of superiority, and much of the rhetoric of imperialism was founded on a distinction between civilization and barbarism. So London was not only a national centre, but the centre of an empire. 3 of the authors on our syllabus are from Ireland, then an unwilling part of Britain, and they respond to imperialism in their way. Oscar Wilde's play The Importance of Being Earnest satirises the fashionable distinction between public and private selves, but it also encodes Wilde's own anxieties about trying to fit in London as a gay Irishman with some Catholic heritage, the acts of social performance required to pass as respectable. Very differently, Sheridan Le Fanu and Bram Stoker expressed their feelings on imperialism using a symbolic monster that drains the life force of its victims, turning it into a version of itself as it does so: the vampire. In Dracula, London is victim to its own processes of invasion and parasitism. The idea of British superiority largely amused Charles Dickens, who ridiculed the condescension and hypocrisy of religious charity in Bleak House. The prevailing tone of the Victorian period was morally earnest, self-righteous, evangelical. It was an atmosphere of excitement. There was a sense of historical moment as people recognised the surge of their own society in technology and power. But the great advancement entailed negligence and outright wrongdoing as well. So literature adopted the question of whether all the progress of the age was worth it.